Welcome back to Friday 50/50. Hello.
Hi.
We can still say Happy New Year, can't we?
Yeah.
Do you reckon we'll still be able to say it when this comes out?
Yeah.
Okay. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year. Did you have a good Christmas?
I did. It was lovely. It was lovely.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, mine was good too. And shouldn't brag, but easy.
Yeah, mine too.
Yeah. People
That's
have.
refreshing.
I know.
The build-up was pretty full on. December build-up was pretty. There was a lot going on.
Mine wasn't even that.
Oh, but after that, it was lovely.
Yeah. How cool. Someone said to me the other day, have you had a holiday? Do you need a holiday? And I said, well, look, Andy's been looking after everything so much that I haven't been, I need a holiday. I've just put him, though, on 2 weeks holiday.
Yes.
Because he will naturally keep working unless I say, hey, you better have a bit of a break. Yeah. So I bought him we were out with friends. The fellow said, The Last of Us. Have you watched the TV show The Last of Us? It's got Pedro Pascal.
What's it on?
Oh,
I don't think I have the thing that it's on.
I'm distracted now from Pedro.
But yes, I do have a thing for Pedro, and I would watch it if I had it. So I must not have that thing.
Okay, I'll tell you
It's all right, I'll Google it.
Okay. I'll come back from him. Is there anyone more delightful than Pedro Pascal?
I don't know. Oh, I have a thing for Henry Cavill.
Oh, but he's superhuman. Like he's the
just
right name for. But he's a mega nerd.
I know. I think that's why I like
It
him.
helps as well. Doesn't work for me. It doesn't add for me. Last night on Stephen Colbert,
yes.
Ben Stiller was on.
Oh, yes.
Have you watched the show Severance or heard of the show Severance?
I've heard of it. It's on my watch list. Have not watched it.
Grayson just put his hand up and he may have watched it.
Yes,
It is superb,
Yes.
incredible. And do you know who the producer and creator is? Ben Stiller.
Really? Did not know this.
My head exploded. I said to Andy, now I believe any dream for any human is possible. It's not that I disrespected Ben Stiller prior to that. I thought he was a very funny guy, clever guy, lots of things to like about Ben, but he was not a fellow that would create Severance. Now, you don't know what I'm talking about because you haven't watched it.
No, but
Grayson,
I got the gist.
now Grayson might be too young to understand the reference to Ben Stiller. So there's no one, he understands. I was going to say there's no one in the room that understands what I'm talking about, but the audience might.
Yes.
So that was very impressive to hear that. And Severance, like, if you haven't, do yourself a favour.
Yeah, it's not too scary. I was worried it was a bit scary for me. Cause
A little bit scary.
I get a little bit scared.
Maybe as a group activity.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Maybe you catch up and then watch season 2 with Grayson because it's coming out soon.
Okay. All right, I'll do that.
Yeah, that was awesome. So Pedro, Ben, they weren't our official topics for today. I'm going to talk about the retreat I went on and the fundamental change it's made. But before I went on the retreat, of course, I had my love and passion for Mercedes. We've still got our mug.
Yes, we do.
Straight off the bat, she does it, and he's so young to lose his hearing. But also, I was doing a vision board because you used to do vision boards with me, and my friend Robin used to, and then you guys jumped off the train, and I was like, I still want to do them. So I did one with you the other day. Looked for an old picture, found Mercedes perfume. Are you serious? Did I have to order it? Of course I did.
Yes.
It was massively discounted.
Did you get me one too?
Did you want one?
I don't know. Well, wait till you get it in case it smells.
When it arrives,
I'm sure it smells lovely.
Look, the
We could do a
notes
product
of
review.
you know the notes of that listed.
Yeah.
I liked all the notes of. They were my kind of notes. Like you know when they say notes of amber, wood, patchouli. You know, and I go, oh, that sounds all right to me.
Does it make us look like the hot chick?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think I would feel like her if I was wearing Mercedes.
Well, on my vision board, I used Penelope Cruz because she was looking steelily into the camera.
Yes.
And then I put a little mask over her face that the view's great from here. I'm aware that I don't look like Penelope Cruz nor have any hope of looking like her. But the beauty, the power, you know, you don't have to literally have the cells on your face. You can have
that strong woman attitude about her.
So I had
So
this.
that's coming?
So that's coming.
How
then I was
exciting.
going to wear this T-shirt today, but it didn't feel like the
is
right
that new?
expression. It absolutely is. It was the best Christmas present I got. And it was from my brother-in-law. My brother-in-law is the one I talked about with the amazing wild curly hair, and I said I edited his name out. He said, you didn't have to edit me out. I was like, okay, so Dean bought me this. Woo! And his wife Sue, my lovely sister-in-law, because they share their money.
Stunning.
It's a Mercedes Formula One crew kind of top.
Beautiful, beautiful.
And it's just one of the best presents I've ever got.
Yes.
So I might wear that one day, because as I'm looking at it, I'm like, yeah, I should have worn that. That's awesome. And then I brought, which again I didn't wear, all this will be clear after I talk about the retreat, I bought these for the new year, which for those of you listening are champagne tower earrings to celebrate the new year.
Oh, yeah.
So at my wedding, the one thing I wanted was a champagne tower.
Yes.
My brother made it happen.
Yes.
Kudos, Stephen, because he said the glasses were mismatching. My husband kept trying to get involved and knock the thing over. It was the most incredible engineering feat.
Yeah.
And it was a wonderful thing to have at the wedding. It was beautiful.
They are awesome, aren't they?
They're wonderful. So when I saw them, I thought, champagne towers, that's totally me. I'll wear them for the New Year episode. Yes. But I went on my retreat and now I don't know how I want to express myself, or it depends what mood I'm in actually, whether I know or don't know. So you and I have spoken about it since I went, and a couple of fantastically large revelations. So one of them I won't share about just out of sort of confidentiality respect, but it was massive. Sorry for the teaser. But there's no way for me to talk about it and be respectful to people in my life. But let's just say the way I would put it is very old things I was able to shift massively and they've stayed shifted. So I was like,
yay.
Yeah, wonderful, amazing, very painful at the time.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you a little bit about the context of the retreat for those people that may not have done it or have done it and go, yeah, let's talk about that. So I've been doing mindfulness with a company called Open Ground for about 15 years. They do amazing work, all sorts of different versions of online courses, mindfulness-based stress reduction. Every time I train people in a corporate setting, I'll tell them about Open Ground, because the mindfulness-based stress reduction and the ongoing use of mindfulness with Sam Harris plus themselves has been the single biggest change to my anxious self. So I still deal with anxiety and it still comes up, but I have access to a whole other world. And actually the whole other world that I have access to is actually reality.
Yes.
Right? So depending on one's understanding of mindfulness, for some people it's like, oh, another thing I have to do, another meditation, another 20 minutes I need to find. Actually, it's hard to explain simply. Sam Harris does a better job, and on the show notes I'll share the link to his explanation actually that he just put out. But basically when I'm in my most real state, as in here I am right now with Danielle, with Grayson at Danielle's recording the podcast, that is mindfulness, being where you are. And then of course as soon as one gets present to where one is, we, as Sam Harris's app is called, we wake up from the dream of our thoughts. And that dream is often a nightmare, right? As a human being, we're often worried. Are we good enough? Are we fitting in? All the things I've expressed on here. So that noise can quieten down when one is able to be with what's actually happening in the moment and be awake from the constant stream of conversation that our inside voice wants to say. I saw this fantastic clip the other day with a fellow, and he said, you know, what I had to realise, he lost his son tragically at one, you know, largely considered the worst tragedy that can happen to someone, and certainly from just a fear of it point of view, I would agree. And he said, I realised that my brain was not me. And when I realised it, I named her Becky. And Becky has a lot to say about a lot of things, but I realised she wasn't me, because who's the one listening to her when she's talking? And the one listening to her when she's talking is my consciousness. And my consciousness is me. And it's not my personality, it's not my success, it's not my failures, it's not my achievements. It's what all beings have. I don't know where that shifts in terms of animals, what ones would be considered conscious or not. As we know, time keeps going on, scientists learn more, and now I think we know that octopi are conscious. Had to give up calamari. Oh, I love calamari. But I was like, oh, I can't do that if they're thinking about that. So anyway, if that's the basic premise of mindfulness, is being in the present moment and being aware of, we're sitting on these chairs right now, our feet are on the floor, I'm speaking, there's noise coming out of my mouth. So I go along to this retreat, and I'll tell the story of the retreat, right, in short. So I booked it many, many months ago. I booked it for two reasons. One, I've always wanted to do a silent retreat, and I love Timothea Goddard, goes by Tim Goddard of Open Ground, the lady that started Open Ground that I dreamed to have on here. I've asked her to be on here and we'll see. I really wanted to meet her. I wanted to spend time with her. I love what they do as a business, so I wanted to go. I also thought I might, at some point in the future, want to become a mindfulness teacher or a mindfulness-based stress reduction teacher. And to do that, one has to have been on one or more long retreats, because you can't teach something, right, if you haven't practiced. So having practiced in short sessions for many, many years, I thought, right, the time's come. Sam's old enough, you know. I was still a little bit worried that he would miss me. He was out with his dad, you know, because we've had the tragic move to Dad now. He's still giving me a little bit love and sweetness, but Dad is the focus now. So I'm actually okay with it now. I wasn't so good a few weeks ago. So off I toddle. I'll go and see one of my best friends in Coffs Harbour, delightful. Go down to Sydney, spend a night in an Airbnb in Bowral, and then go to the retreat at a convent in Bowral. And when I booked it, I hadn't realised it was in a convent. I grew up Catholic. I have many stories about being brought up Catholic. So I was like, that's so funny. And I stayed in one of the rooms that the nuns would have stayed in, right? Yes. It was like, imagine a 60s sort of building, had a beautiful courtyard in the middle, beautiful gardens all around, and then those 60s-style musty veneer cupboards, slight damp smell, but not enough, right? Sink in the corner, awkwardly opening aluminium windows, one of which had fly wire, one didn't, so you had to decide, not unlike Far North Queensland, how much do I want cool breeze? So off I toddle. I arrive nervous, 6 days silent.
Yeah, silent was the big thing for me.
Yeah.
The retreat is silent.
Silent. So many of my friends had expressed in various levels of joking through to concern, how are you going to do that? Particularly you, Tamara. I had more faith in me than they did, because I think I always knew that a lot of the noise I make isn't really me.
Yeah.
It is, some of it. Some of it's not. Anyway, so I felt like, oh, well, let's see how we go. I arrive, this beautiful woman, just best greeting from a woman called Betty. Hi, Betty, if you're listening. She was fantastic. And she welcomed me so warmly and introduced me to who I needed to be introduced to, showed me my room, and we went into the hall and had our introduction from Tim and Mary, the two teachers, and we were able to say a brief comment to the whole group about what we wanted to get out of the week, and we were able to talk to people in small groups for a few minutes and say more about that, and then we entered silence. I'm doing dit-dits for those not on YouTube. We entered silence, and Tim luckily is very funny and charismatic and was able to make us feel better about the fact that that was often very odd. Like, we'd be sitting at a table for dinner or breakfast or lunch with three other people and not talking, and chewing and looking up at the ceiling or looking out the window, or occasionally catching the eye of the person opposite us and going. And then they warned us as well. They said, don't worry, if someone passes you in the hall and they don't catch your eye and they don't smile, they said, certainly you can do it if you want to, but someone might be in themselves, contained, reflecting. Yeah. The whole idea of silence is not having to put your energy outwards, right? Yeah. I don't have to go, hey, Danielle, hey, Grayson. You can just be in yourself. So it was a wonderful week and a really difficult week. So the wonderful things I'll talk about in a moment. The difficulties were what one would expect. So, but actually it was still a surprise. So taking away my distractions. So you don't have your phone, you literally hand it in. Some people didn't. There was a couple of little rebels who were sort of obviously looking at their phones, but I sort of learnt a little bit about them, and that was part of their personality, right? I have to be a bit of a rebel. I handed my phone in. We're not allowed to bring a book, no telly, of course, no alcohol. They, on the introduction letter, they said, please, no psychedelics. And I was like, well, I hadn't even packed those. But I understand why, if you think of retreats and people these days, psychedelics can be part of that story.
Yes. Yeah.
But very quickly you notice, or certainly if you're me, you notice I do something and then distract. I do something and then distract. So they wanted to create an atmosphere of rigour and ease. So if for those of you that have meditated at a silent retreat in the Vipassana meditation technique or in a Buddhist, traditional Buddhist sense, you can go to a retreat for 9 or 10 days. There is no comfort. There is basic food, not often. You will be meditating or working and silent. And Tim did this fantastic joke, which some people got because they'd been on this kind of retreat. And she said, you know, you can go on a 10-day retreat and you come into the evening session where there's no real talking, there's just meditating. And the teacher, who's often on recording, not even there, a guru, she said one fellow goes like this, 9 days to go. Only 9 days to go. And as she was doing it, those that had been on her on a retreat were laughing, and all of the rest of us were just terrified at the thought of, we were so grateful, because how they did it was we got up at 6:30, did a practice first thing, breakfast 7:30. We had the best vegetarian food of my life.
Wow.
I think it's called Claude's Kitchen. They're from the Sunshine Coast. I have to put in the show notes because anyone creating anything over that side of the world, you must have these people come and cook for you. Amazing. So we'd have a meditation session or a stretching session, go and have breakfast, not talking to people, not able to thank the chefs for the amazing food. That was very difficult. Yeah. And then they'd say, once you've finished your food, you've got an hour before we meet again. So you go, I would, of course, have breakfast and then look at my phone, have breakfast and watch something, have breakfast and pick up my book, have breakfast and talk to Andy. No, have breakfast and go to your room, go wander around the trees. I learned a huge amount about insects. I won't bore you with it, but I learned a lot because you're literally looking for stuff to entertain you. On day 2, I said they should have a primal screaming session in the afternoon, and it made me understand and have great empathy for the orangutans at the zoo. They need more distraction than those buckets, man, because they're very bright, and having now known what it's like to – it got to the point where a dog would bark in the distance and I go, oh, thank God, that was interesting. Or there were lots of cockies there and they'd fly past and I go, oh, how exhilarating.
Wow.
No distraction. No distraction. I actually said something really crude. I was talking to Betty and I said, I think I'm going to name – she said she saw me eating one day outside of the dining room. I always ate in the dining room and could handle the tension. But one day I was sitting opposite someone who culturally had a different agreement around 2 things, sniffing and slurping soup. And they were doing both. And they were doing it one after the other. So sniff, slurp. And I like, oh, no, we've reached what is acceptable limit for me and I'm going to have to pretend I have a reason to leave. And they had this one little cafe table, I don't know why, in the corner of this 60s convent outside of the – maybe they knew there would come a time when someone had to escape. Anyway, the hilarious Betty, when we were writing notes to one another about trying to get hold of Sam or whatever it might be, she said, oh, you looked very cool there sitting at your cafe table having your lunch or breakfast or whatever it was. Must have been lunch if it was soup. She said, although, you know, a tragic convent cafe table. I said, that might be the name of this chapter in my book. I said, otherwise the name of the chapter is going to be, sorry, Grayson, does everyone wank on retreat? Because you got to get some entertainment somehow.
TMI.
Of course. I question whether I should share it. I'm not saying I did, of course. I love it. I'm not saying I did. No.
Okay.
Oh, never. I was in a convent. I'm a good girl. But I would say one gets desperate for distraction, and like Betty and I discussed once we were talking again, there's a reason why there's baby booms when the electricity goes off and TVs don't work.
Yes.
There's always a baby boom.
There's nothing else to do.
Nothing. So I don't know if it's – can you imagine as I say it having 6 days of not being able to distract yourself with phones, TVs, books, or do you go, I could totally do it?
I could totally do that because I do that anyway.
Do you? So when I leave today, Grayson leaves today,
I could quite happily sit and do nothing, but I don't. My conscience and you've got to, that thing in me that says you've got to do stuff.
Oh, so you've got to be working.
Yeah, but when given the opportunity, like when I get COVID and that, I'm like, I'm not doing anything, and I can quite happily do anything. But the thing I couldn't do is not talk. Even though I'm an introvert that doesn't talk, I'm sure I would accidentally. I would have to concentrate.
Yes.
Because I just am a naturally stuff comes out of my mouth type of random person.
Yeah. So I would say that was the impulse for me that got stronger over the days, where we were allowed to talk 3 different times. Apart from when we introduced, we were allowed to talk if there was a teaching session in the meditation room and they asked for our feedback or comments. We had one group session where we spoke with 6 or 8 different people and said where our experience was up to at the time. And then we had a one-on-one session with one of the teachers and we spoke to them for about 15, 20 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
So over the 6 days, I think I spoke for about half an hour.
Whoa.
And it built up speed to the point where probably the last night they were doing a teaching, it went into worries around climate change. And as a lady gave a comment about it, I almost literally shouted, I can't hold this in. I have an opinion. I've been very restrained all week, but I have to say this. And the teachers kind of looked at me wryly like, all right, get it out. And that was my sort of one. I was allowed to talk then, but I did do it with a certain gusto of 6 months, I almost said 6 days of not talking. So there's a couple of things that I noticed. I noticed how often I distract. Now, you made a comment which was one of my other biggest revelations, and that's why everything now that I'm going to do has an element of mystery about it, because my biggest revelation about being there, you said, when we go today, you could sit there and do nothing. But actually you think, no, I've got to be getting on with stuff. So very early in the retreat, I realised I either work or distract, because if I'm not working, I can't relax, because my job is to work, produce stuff, be a good girl. I'm only okay if I'm producing, and actually I'm never producing enough, therefore I'm never okay. That's painful, therefore I've trained myself very many years to distract. And I can distract wonderfully. I can use phones. Television's a very good distraction, particularly a good show like Severance, because why wouldn't you? And you think about people talking about like our social conversations now, like they used to be about TV. They're about what are you watching, what streaming services on. We're all blanking out a lot.
Yes.
And part of the reason we're blanking out is the noise in our head is often negative. The noise in our head is often saying we're not good enough. And because that's running rampant, unless we can corral it, we have to distract. And when I say we, I mean me, of course. So the big thing that I got, and that's the thing that's going to lead to don't know what at this point, is early in the program, I'd been and seen my friend Beck. She'd said to me on going to the retreat, do you realise who you are? Do you realise all the wonderful things you do and what you're worth and all the rest? And I said to her, look, I really don't, and I can't access it. And she said, please try on this retreat.
Oh, bless you, Beck.
Yeah, she's a great friend. And when I did my Land of Plenty with William Whitecloud, my first gift when I came out was Beck. Yeah. She was waiting there to hug me because we've been, I was going to say soldiers on the road together, but it's that kind of like, comrades in the game of life. Anyway, it was very frustrating because I said, I can't access it. I'm not trying to be stubborn. I just feel like it's not in me. I can't access it. And when I first got there, I drew a little stick figure of myself with an empty box around what hippies would call kind of my sacral chakra. It was just, there was nothing in there. I was frustrated. So I started doing this thing where I started trying to talk to myself like I would talk to someone else. So I'm very loving when I coach or train. I notice what's good about people and I tell them. So I was like, okay, do that to yourself. So I did that and I started to feel better, felt really good. Went into the group session, was ready to share. I came in with not a lot of self-belief. My word that I asked to get by the end of the week was confidence. And what I realised as I said that, I had a much bigger week than a lot of other people because they said stuff like, peace, spaciousness, rest, stuff that's not quite as lofty a goal. But when I said confidence, coming from where I was coming from, whoa, big word.
Big word.
Big word. And I'm so glad I said it because it's what resulted in the outcome I got. So, which has been wavering. So I'll talk about that. So I go into the group session. I've written myself a love letter. I've talked about all my skills. I'm feeling like higher in myself, better about myself. And I let everyone else talk first because I kind of followed my instinct throughout the week, which I'm glad I did. It was tricky, but I'm glad I did it. And when I got to me, I went, I was going to share all this stuff I've got, but I realised I don't really want to share like me, the trainer, or the person who's turned it on for an audience. And then I started bawling. And I went, oh no. And the lady I had running the group, Mary, who's a very experienced meditator, lived in Sri Lanka for 7 years, was at Plum Village with Thich Nhat Hanh, like, come on now. I can't even remember how she responded. She was compassionate and she said, oh, there's a part of you that's tired of acting. And I went, whoa, right.
Whoa.
And said, oh, I'm sorry, I'm crying, whatever I said. And I said, thanks everyone for listening to me in the group. Left that group just so deflated. I thought not only did my plan to feel good not work, but now I just feel so down and, it was terrible. Anyway, the terrible led to what I ended up getting. I'm not sure at what stage of the week I got it, but when one talks about what I mentioned before, consciousness or who we are as beings, our consciousness has an intrinsic worth. So you'll hear lots of teachers talk about, whether it be courses or teachers or religion, or lots of people will say, you are, like Landmark, they used to say, you're whole, complete and perfect. And when you hear that as an insecure person with lots of issues, you go, what a load of shit. I'm about 2% of what I want to be.
It's kind of just reinforcing your
right. I'm not whole, complete and perfect. When you listen to other speakers talk about this consciousness we have, this part of us that's not yabbering onto us, but the part that's noticing the yabbering on, the quiet, still thing that is watching Tamara talk to Danielle in this podcast, that has worth. And in this particular retreat, they talked about, we are the mountain, we are the sky, we are the river, we are the sea. Thoughts flow through us, emotions flow through us, causes and conditions get to where we are in life. But whether one is Taylor Swift, whether someone's Trump, or whether someone's a homeless person, or someone's a murderer, we all have this equal worth from our consciousness. And realising that has been the key to the escape from my self-belief prison. Because there's nothing I have to achieve, there's no way I have to look. And once I realised through this painful process of this retreat, painful and beautiful, that all I do is scurry around trying to be okay when I fundamentally don't feel okay. Hang on. If I'm fundamentally okay, and you are, Grayson is, and even Trump is, and I love using him because some people love him, but for most of us it's like he is an absolute horror show that is threatening the existence of our world as we know it. His consciousness has the same worth. He just has many more dis-eases. He has many more things on top of that that's creating the noise and horror that it creates, right? So it makes you modest because you know better or worse than anyone else. It makes you compassionate because you just see if someone's misbehaving, what's going on for you, buddy? Because your consciousness is equal to mine or anyone else's, but something causes that. It makes you feel just an equal level of pride for whatever you're doing. In Open Ground, they use the term a lot, which would come from some other thing they've learnt, the causes and conditions that lead to where we are. So us doing the podcast, if I get positive feedback about the podcast, my ego can go, yeah, that's because I'm awesome.
Yeah.
If I get negative feedback, my ego can go, yeah, that's because I'm shit.
Yes.
Actually, what works or doesn't work about this is the causes and conditions that led to my experience of life, my personality, my speaking voice, my humour, my seriousness, my insecurity. All of that noise is what people see about other human beings most of the time. But actually who they are is this great, stable consciousness that has fundamental worth.
Yes.
So I don't need to ever look for my worth again.
No.
I don't have to prove it to anyone. I don't have to... Anything I want to do now can just be about what I want to do. Yes. So let's put the asterisks because, we're not about bullshitting here. When I got that, I was so scared of losing it again because I've lost so many years to this noise and insecurity that I wouldn't share it with anyone. I didn't share it with you. I didn't share it with Beck. I didn't share it with Andy. It was almost like if I say the words out loud, they'll dissipate and I'll never get them back.
Yeah.
And the reason I am talking about it now is it dissipated without me talking to anyone, and I went back into the noise and the pain, and I have gone in and out in the last, say, month since I got back. And the thing that makes the difference now is I know it and I can come back to it. I know it and I can come back to it. So now for me, it's a choice for me. How do I practice coming back to it? Do I let myself run rampant, my personality, my insecurities? Do I let them swamp me that they've done for so long? Or do I take what I now know, continue to practice my meditation, continue to look at what I know to be true or not, and come from the freedom of that? So when you and I went out for lunch at Christmas to celebrate all you've done for me and our partnership in this, and I was sharing some of this stuff with you, I was saying, I don't know what the podcast is going to look like.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm going to want to do for work.
Yeah.
If I'm not doing it to prove I'm okay, and that question is still up in the air.
Yeah. Isn't it awesome?
Wow. If one has the right attitude.
Yes.
So there's a fellow who keeps showing up on Facebook lately. Help me with the name. I feel like his name's Peter Crone.
Yes.
Super handsome guy. I was laughing with you yesterday, the day before. There was a woman interviewing him on a podcast.
Yeah.
She was just...
I think about 3 people have sent me clips from that interview.
Bambi with her big eyes. She was just so in love with him. And he was reacting in the way someone who's very handsome, when they're told silently how handsome they are, he was being more handsome. It was so funny. But he's into this, well, what I believe now, fundamental truth that wise people understand. And he was talking about this idea of, if you're always working from trying to fill a gap, you can never get there. It's like when I shared months ago when my friend said to me, well, what would be enough likes?
Yeah.
And I realised none.
Yeah.
There's no number.
Yeah.
Jim Carrey saying, I wish everyone could win an Oscar so they'd know that's not the thing.
Yeah.
If you don't have confidence from your causes and conditions, your family, your upbringing, whatever it might be, nothing's going to fill that hole.
Yeah.
If you understand you're worth something, despite all the things that aren't perfect about you, and then you make a choice, what do I want to do with my life? The freedom, it is so free and enlivening and joyful. And as I arrived today, I was much more in the other than what I've realised. So as you say to me, isn't that exciting?
Yeah.
A part of me completely agrees. And a part of me goes, fuck. There's like peace and frantic. Peace and frantic are my two modes. And this Peter Crone fellow was saying, it keeps dropping out of my head. It's probably because I so need to get it. He said, he believes your sort of spiritual path is laid out, who you're going to be is laid out. Everything's already in place, and so all you need is faith and patience. And they are not strengths of mine traditionally. I haven't had a great faith, even though I like to think I have. I actually haven't had a great faith.
Yeah.
And patience is probably not got my picture next to it in the dictionary, right?
Yeah.
So I get frantic. What am I doing? The old comes in. What am I doing? How am I worthwhile?
Yeah.
How am I busy enough? And then I go, okay, dump that. So let's dump it right now. None of that. It's all bullshit. It's all bullshit. I testify, right? I'll share a video connected to this podcast about the revelation, and I sort of say in that, oh, I'm so sorry I banged on about all this for so long, but I also say I couldn't have got to where I got to.
Yes.
So I both appreciate people's listening, and people have said they've enjoyed it, but also I feel like, alrighty-o, this is going to be interesting. What else can I share? Where else can I come from? When I drop that story, when I drop that bullshit.
You're making me cry.
I wondered why you were crying, but I couldn't understand.
You're making me tear up. Everything you've said today is so beautiful, Tam. It's so beautiful. It's so true. Oh. It's so, like, you're speaking so from your heart. Oh. And I am just reveling in the joy of being here with you, hearing you talk so passionately from your heart and seeing yourself possibly like the way that I see you, and really marinating in that. And it's really beautiful.
Oh, I love that.
Thank you for letting me sit here with you.
Oh, I love that. You're very welcome.
Yeah.
You're very welcome.
It's making me very emotional because it's beautiful. It's beautiful to watch.
Oh, that's so nice. That's so nice. That's I really love that. And it's really useful for you to say that. It's lovely to hear, but as I've been talking today, I've been like, oh, this is a boring episode.
Oh no, fuck no. Sorry for swearing.
Well, that ship sailed. I think you're maybe one time you swear for every time 10 of mine.
Yeah, no, I love it. I love it so much.
It's fascinating. We met the other day and had a wonderful time together, as we do, and you were helping me with some of my choices and things around this subject. What do I want to create? And I said, I don't know if I'm very funny when I'm sort of relaxed in myself. And I think I still am got funniness.
You do.
But it comes kind of from a steadier place.
Yeah.
I realised I had a sense of humour for myself on the retreat.
Oh, yes.
That was really nice to realise.
Yeah.
Because I only thought I was funny when other people were around.
Yeah.
But when I ran out of my own external entertainment...
You made some of your own.
So we did one day where they were talking about avoidance and draw. So human beings are naturally drawn to pleasure and reject things that repulse us, right? So, and we'll have it very fast, this reaction. A cold shower, unless you're one of the Wim Hof people, is no. A warm shower is, and we were doing a lot of walking meditation out in this garden, a lot.
Oh, that'd be interesting.
It was. Yeah. And I said to Sam, because he loves everything sort of creepy and horror, I said, one day I looked up, I was walking slowly on the lawn. There were 30 people at this retreat. I thought there'd be 6 or 8. Yeah. There was tons of us. I'm walking on the lawn slowly. I glance up, and in between me and a distant lawn, I see probably a dozen people walking slowly, not smiling, looking straight ahead. And it was like a zombie movie. It's so strange to look at people not acknowledging one another, not smiling, looking straight ahead and walking slowly.
What a spectacle.
It really was. On one of the last days, Betty, my love, who is the conference organiser, I shouldn't say this, but I already said it to Andy. Yeah. If I was gay, if Betty wasn't coupled, if we lived in the same city, if I wasn't married to Andy and I wasn't attracted to her sexually, if I was like, I was like, oh, I think I'm in love with Betty. I think we're going to have to edit this out. I think that is TMI. I still think of her and go, she did things all through the week, like she would put up, because it was Christmas, she'd put up nativity scenes and let us look at something different. Yeah. She'd put flowers in the room. Yeah. She'd write me a note that was funny. She gave me a hug when I first arrived. She was such a source of joy and light.
Yeah. You showed me a picture of her and I'm like, oh, yeah, she's like just got that, just comes out of it pores,
I think that's what it is.
She's alive. She's a really alive
She's really
person.
alive and she's really loving and she's funny. And on the last day, Tim said, go out and do your normal meditation. But when you've finished, they rang a bell for us to come into the meditation room. So we get very used to that noise. She said, you're going to hear a very different noise and I want you to walk towards it. And we're like, very different noise. So off we go. We do our walking meditation in silence and then we hear bagpipes. Oh, gosh. Bagpipes.
How cool are bagpipes?
It was Betty. She was playing them live.
No.
Betty's Scottish. And we all wandered across the lawn towards these bagpipes. Now, my mother, who will not listen to this, wanted, and it seems to have changed her mind, but now she's going to get them. She doesn't know. She wanted bagpipes at her funeral. So, as you can imagine, at one of these retreats, you are doing some childhood stuff. I have a Scottish background. I lived there. My mum's got a Scottish background. These bagpipes start playing this mournful, beautiful tune. Wow. And I'm bawling.
Yeah.
Everyone's bawling for all different reasons. Turns out bagpipes are very emotional.
They are. They really are.
They really are. And she walks us around the garden. We're following her like little mice. Then she changes to a really upbeat version of, you'll know it, but I can't remember.
Yeah.
And we're sort of dancing behind her. And then we end up in this beautiful courtyard back in the middle and she does Amazing Grace. Oh. And then the cook, who's Scottish, the husband of Claudia, the amazing cook, he comes out and stands there and then takes video of her. And that's when I said it was arduous and beautiful. Betty was a key to the beauty. Tim and Mary scheduling it the way they did, the food they did. We had coffee. We had several selections of tea. There was a cat there that I could bribe with cream and get a relaxation of playing with this cat for a minute. It was incredibly beautiful. And it was difficult, really difficult. And the thing that happened for me that was the most important was I said to myself, let whatever happens happen, get whichever teacher you get. I had gone there to hang out with Tim. I ended up doing both my group session and one-on-one with Mary, and that was the key because she didn't not that Tim would have, but she didn't let me escape me, and I had to sort out internally. I had to be with the pain, not run away from it. No one soothed me. I had to be my own mother, my own carer. And so my best stuff came from having to do that. But at times it felt like, oh, no, I'm a no. This is too difficult, you know.
So intense. What an experience.
I know.
You're making me want to go.
Oh, yeah. I mean, look, highly recommend.
You've just really sold that retreat.
Have I?
Yes. Yes.
So this is what I would say as if someone was interested in going, yourself or anyone else. I definitely would love Andy to go. He's already on board. He kept forgetting I was going because a bit like Crowded House, he was jealous and he just didn't even want to really think about the fact I was going. I would say the way to prepare for that kind of retreat is to have a mindfulness meditation practice. I would recommend doing mindfulness-based stress reduction with Open Ground. So they do that in person in Perth. They're Sydney-based, but they do it Australia-wide. They do in-person sessions 3 hours a week for 6 or 8 weeks. They do it online where you can choose from a number of different teachers and match up your time needs. Wonderful. That was the single biggest change for me, mindfulness-based stress reduction, or MBSR, which was developed by John Kabat-Zinn, if anyone wants to look at the background. It's secular these days, so what I mean by that is non-religious. Yeah. You can practice any religion and practice mindfulness. So I'm not an expert, but I would take the guidance that they gave us. So if anyone said, I'd love to go and do that, their recommendation was you would have, to join, you have to at least done MBSR one time. I've done it twice over 14 or 15 years. You have to have a regular meditation practice, and that can be 2 minutes, 10 minutes a day, but you have to have delved into this idea of mindfulness, because the reason I got the breakthroughs I got is because of the level of mindfulness practice. And that thing I shared about your consciousness or your being having worth, one actually has to understand non-dual consciousness, and that's a kind of no-joke thing, but you can also get it quite quickly. The way to access that the fastest, in my opinion, is Sam Harris. Waking up, we always talk about it, 30 days free. We don't get anything from him, but I can't talk about him loudly enough. We'll
so by the time you got to where you got to, you were able to embody it really quickly and embrace the knowledge that you had. Otherwise, you would just been skipping over the surface
and
a bit,
I think
and
overwhelmed.
maybe dipping into it, but not like really embodying the experience to the level of the breakthroughs that you got. That makes sense. So. That makes sense.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like when the person says, I'm a 15-year overnight success. I've been working on this kind of thing since I was a young adult. I'm 51 now. And I'm sure the more I learn, the more sure I am that there's so much more to come. I don't know if you have that experience. It's like the saying, the wiser I get, the dumber I know I am.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
It's a really good test. It's a good test for oneself. If you're very confident about something, you probably don't know a lot about it.
Yeah.
You know, the most confident people know the least.
Yes. The only thing I'm confident about is I don't know.
Yeah, that's right. That's the wise answer. So it's both surprising.
I'm very sure of that.
Yeah, but it's delightful when you can be with that, right?
Oh, isn't it?
And it's the easiest.
Isn't it?
It's like, I'm going to learn so much more. I know so little. And the more I learn.
Getting excited about the not knowing too.
Yeah. Yeah, and going, what's going to come next? And then having this feeling that the path is right, but not sure what next steps to take and how to breathe through that. And what does this look like? How often do we do this? Do I want to keep doing it the way we've been doing it? I'm clear that I've got 3 guests coming up that I want to talk to, and we will do that, and that's exciting to me. There's others I have in mind. I think you and I will talk about whether we continue this as a weekly adventure. That's an unknown for me at the moment. I just knew I wanted to do, I wasn't sure when I came back from the retreat whether I wanted to do a Friday 50-50, but then I thought, no, I must share about this retreat. I must share the breakthrough, and I must share authentically the access I've got to something that's going to create a whole different world for me. Yeah. And that's generous for me to cut the crap now that I know there's crap to cut, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yay.
Come on now.
That's fantastic, Tam. That's really, I'm so excited for you.
Thank you. Thank you. We're going to see, man. Should we go and have some lunch?
Yes. You can hear my tummy rumbling.
No, I just thought about you having got lunch for us, and I'm like, I think I've got a poke bowl. I read this thing that to have good gut flora health, you have to eat 30 different plant-based things a week.
Right.
So I'm keeping a diary. I have no idea how many I'm up to this week. I don't know if I'm going to hit 30. That's a lot. But it's quite a fun game.
Oh, yeah?
Because you go...
Like vegetable bingo.
It is like vegetable bingo. You don't make it sound very exciting like that.
Oh, sorry. What's this thing?
Oh, I'm so glad you mentioned it. So,
sorry, I pointed to something on the table for people who are listening on audio.
I've realised that the majority of people are on audio, and I need to explain things properly. So my darling sister, I have a sister who's 8 years younger than me, my great love, and she has created things in yarn, and this art is called felting, I think. And she has made me a positive potato. And it's a podcast positive potato, and it's got it's green and purple, green like our colour, and purple because that's her colour, and it goes beautifully with the green. And it's a positive potato that says, I may be a tiny potato, but I believe in you. Go do your thing. And it's just the most gorgeous thing. It's in its little container, and I'm going to have it here on the table in front of our beautiful pink flowers.
Yes. Oh, it's the cutest thing.
It's the
Because
cutest
little
thing.
arms.
The little arms holding the sign, the little podcast, and even the podcast headphones
The headphones.
Yeah,
the love
so
hearts,
my sister said that she never had a hobby because she was busy being a mum and working and everything.
Yes.
She fell into felting when my mum gave her something I'd given mum that I thought was a whole, when I used to buy on Temu.
Yes.
Don't buy on Temu anymore. Ding. Halo. Really missing it. Really miss Temu.
He's the cutest. That's our new mascot, isn't it?
It absolutely is.
Beautiful.
Oh, I was just about to call him Benji. Benji was my old boss from Sydney who doesn't like Perth very much.
Oh.
That doesn't feel right.
No.
I'll think before the next time we... What's your name? Potty Potato.
Potty Potato.
Yeah, Potty. That's his name. Potty. Betsy out the front and Potty in the room.
Potty in the room.
Yeah, he's good-hearted.
Yeah.
Love you, Claire Bear.
He's a good token for the new year, isn't it?
Beautiful.
What are those things called?
You
know the thing I'm talking about.
Yeah.
The spiritual.
Like a talisman?
Yeah.
I like that word, so we'll say that.
Yeah. Yeah. Potty will look after us.
Well, nothing's changed about our timing because Grayson put up wrap up several months ago. Several months ago. That feels right. All right, might see you next week. Who knows?
Who knows? Let's see.
Thank you, my love.
Thanks.
Let's see. Thank you.